want to be working on my pond today, but that's like a ticking time bomb, and I'm starting to get worried if I'm going to be able to get it done. But that's a story for another day. Today we're going to see if we can drag a tree out of the woods using my new Mech Maxx FW8800 pound skidding winch. So we got that connected, everything's ready to go. I've got my ITC chainsaw holder, the 500i. Let's head up into the woods. So the tree is back here and kind of over the hill where it starts to drop off. And when I cut that down, I did not yet have this trail. It was really hard to get a piece of equipment up here because of these rocks that are enormous. And it's still hard to get a piece of equipment up here. But I've got the trail that gets me close enough to run the skidding winch over. It might not seem like a big deal, but it's tough to come in here and grab a log and pick it up when like this rock right here sticks up out of the ground a foot. And those rocks are just everywhere. So you try to drive a tractor across this, you know, with a big log. The best solution before the skidding winch would have been to fight my way back through this and cut it up and then load the individual rounds. But even that, like, it's just hard to get back here. That's why the skidding winch is going to be such a handy tool for me. So what we've got here is a full tree. I cut it down a while back, wrapped a chain around it to try to pull it out, and decided I didn't have a good way to do it. And it's got a lot. It's way too big to pull the way it is. I'll have to cut it into a couple pieces. But first thing I need to do is take all the extra limbs off. I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but I'll throw it in there real quick if any of you guys are watching that haven't done this very much. See, we got the big gap there. This was a curved leaning tree. And I'm going to take that limb off first because it could affect things. But outside of that limb, you imagine this thing wants to sag to the ground. So the top wood is being compressed and the bottom wood is under tension. It's trying to pull apart. On a cut like this, you always cut the tension first and then the compression. So I will cut from the top and then I will cut from the bottom. I botched this cut because my bottom cut didn't line up with my top cut and because my top cut was not deep enough. So I told you the rule correctly, but I didn't execute it correctly. The thing is, I didn't cut far enough when I was cutting the top. And the result of that is when I finished the cut from the bottom, my saw was at the top. So I was following the right rule, but I didn't execute it properly. And now my saw is stuck. Before I turned the camera on, I would have told you I've really got the hang of not pinching my bar, and I just did it. So it is what it is, and I don't hide my mistakes. I could get that out in a few different ways. I could make another cut up here with a different chainsaw. I could get some wedges or a sledgehammer and kind of pry that gap open so the saw falls off. But what I'm wondering is, I've already cut this. I think it's ready to drag the log out. Maybe just go ahead and hook to it and drag it out. If I pull this log that way, any at all, my saw is freed up. Now, I may still have to wedge my bar out of there because this log might be more than I can pull. There's only one way to find out. So I'm guessing this log is 20, 25 feet, and maybe, what is this? That's about 10 to 20 inch diameter at the big end. Pretty big log. It's gonna be heavy. It's oak. Let's just see if we can drag it out before we do anything else. Now, I already backed the tractor up in a straight line with it. One of the keys to a skidding winch like this is don't ever pull at more than a 30-degree angle. And that's just like common sense, right? If you've got your tractor sitting like this and you're pulling from over here, that winch could have enough power to either damage the 3-point system on your tractor or to literally flip your tractor over. So what we want to do is get in a straight line with it if we can. And I've done that. Now this log is going to have to kind of navigate right through here. It's got that shaved area there. And then all of this is just brush. I was going to clean a little bit of that up, but it'll trample over. It's not trees. The only issue I'm going to have is if the butt snags on these logs too hard. Let's pull a line down here. All right, so we raise this up like this. This locks it in where it doesn't free spool. Push it down, now it'll free spool. I can pull the line out. All right, so now we can just drop the chain through this built-in hook. This thing's got a built-in hook on it. Take that through there, should be ready to pull. If you missed my last video, I've always wanted a skidding winch, but they're pretty expensive and I've never got one. Till now, this Mech Maxx skidding winch, 8,800 pound capacity, 200 foot of 3/8 diameter cable. It's only $3,000. Still a lot of money, but for a skidding winch, that's on the low end for sure. And if you happen to want one of these or anything else Mech Maxx makes, I've got a discount code that I'll put in the video description. Let you save 5% on your order. So now we got the emergency brake set, and I actually backed this back tire up against that big rock like a wheel stop, like a wheel chock, to prevent or to resist a little bit the tractor rolling. Now I'm going to take my jacket and I'm going to loop it around the cable up there as a cable dampener to make this cable less likely to snap and fly back at me. And next we pop this handle down so that the winch can no longer free spool. Now this engages the pulling motion. We've got it down, so when I engage the PTO, the winch is not going to try to pull. A couple things that were pointed out to me in my first video is you don't want to run high RPMs on the skidding winch because you don't need it to go fast. So I'm going to put this on manual PTO, start the PTO, and bring up the throttle just a little past idle, but not much. Now, whenever I pull this handle, we'll see the cable pull. Well, that's what I was afraid of. It's kind of wedged in there, and that is a big log at a long pull. Wonder if it freed up my chainsaw. Nope, chainsaw's locked up. I'm gonna have to get something and pop the chainsaw loose, make a cut up here and pull it in 2 pulls. All right, let's knock some wedges in here, see what happens. And there she goes. No need to fight with it and bury another saw when a couple taps with a wedge will do. Be even better to just not get it stuck in the first place, but can't win them all, I guess. So I think what I'll do now is mark about the halfway point on this log that is an increment of 16 inches so that I get even amount of firewood rounds when I get this up to the house, because obviously way too bowed to go on a sawmill. All right, we're in 2 pieces now. Should be able to follow that routine I told you earlier on the skidding winch. And we ought to see this sucker pull on out of here. So at this point, I guarantee it'll work. And that's the first time I've said that today. And if it doesn't work, you'll never hear me say it. So this thing was pulling easy right up until it wasn't. And I thought I knew what I was gonna find when I got up here. I thought this thing's gonna be bound up against a rock. But really, it doesn't seem like it is. See what we got down here. Yeah, we're wedged into that rock right there. I don't know what this looks like on camera, but I'm on a fairly steep slope right here. It goes down this way. I'm hoping this doesn't try to roll too far, but I guess it can't because the brake's on the winch. But I'm not stuck that hard. It's just up against a rock. I think if I can roll it at all, it'll pop loose. All right, let's see what that does. Well, there's another layer to this that I haven't figured out, which is all the best ways to do your rigging. So I got this up here, just looping a chain around the tree, but there's a lot more to learn about rigging that I've got to get into. Talking about like a slip hook instead of a standard chain hook that hooks back to itself. I've got a set of log tongs, but I think this is more reliable than that. Then once you get it close, you're going to run out of cable run, and then you're going to have to loop this onto the tractor to drive out of here. So I'm going to get a second chain around this while it's held up in the air where I want it. We're going to loop the chain over here and let the 3-point down, release the tension off the winch. And see, now that's lifting the log, but I'm no longer under tension here. We can pull out some slack from that. Now I can run this out to my second log. So now the problem I have is I've got this log hooked on this side of the skidding winch, and the other log, just the angle of everything, drew up on that side of it. I don't want two logs all the way on one side of the tractor, so I've got to disconnect this one, try to roll it or scoot it that way, or move the tractor to it, and then hook up again. So now we're lined up. If I hook this log to this the same way I was, but we're on the opposite side, I can draw that one in and do the same thing over there. Oh, she's a beaut, Clark. She's a beaut. Let's see if she'll pull. All right, so there's always technique things to learn and improve on. I could not pinch my bar. I could do better with the chain rigging, but basically, now this worked. This log was set back there. I cut it down over a year ago, and I kept thinking about coming to get it. One day I even tried to drive the tractor back here, and I said, it's just not worth it. And then I said, you know what would be perfect for that? A skidding winch. So I got one, got her done. And I'll have a lot of logs like these at least a few times a year on my own property, not to mention some of the opportunities I have to go harvest logs for jobs or harvest logs for the log cabin, things like that. So this is going to be a great tool for me. If you're interested in more information on this or you want to order one, check the link in the video description. I've got a discount code, save you a little bit of money. I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.